Well, today I'm reviewing one of my favorite comic book works of all time in my absolutely favorite format for comic book of all time. What I've got is the Wolverine Weapon X Gallery Edition. Now, this just came out in April of this year. It's $44.99 cover price. It's routinely discounted to 26 bucks or so as of the time of this shooting, and I'm ahead several weeks now, so hopefully this thing is evergreen and they keep it in print for you. But at the time that I shot this, it was still available at in-stock trades for a little less than $26, and that's what I paid for mine. And it's worth every penny and more, I gotta tell you. I can barely contain my excitement to tell you how great this thing is, and I'm only in the first part of the video, so you can see how this thing's gonna go, right? But I tell you what, my copy did come from the notorious iMac printing facility in Turkey, but I am happy to report it's perfect in every way. Not a thing wrong with this book. It's just perfect. The paper quality is good. The binding is strong and straight. The hardcovers, the boards on it are perfectly flat and aligned. Not a thing wrong with it. So if there's a problem with that printing facility, I think it has more to do with the Marvel Omnibus runs that they run through there rather than just specifically a problem with everything they make. So that's a good thing. It's a good sign. So hopefully things are improving there, and we'll see better and better quality stuff come out of there. That'd be great. Now, this book, another great thing about this format, my absolute favorite format for comic books is the Gallery Edition, the Marvel Gallery Edition, I should say. It's a little bit taller, a little bit larger format than a DC Absolute. They tend to be thinner, although that varies from Absolute to Absolute. But yeah, they're a little bit taller than that, but they're not so tall and so large that you can't handle them or shelve them if you've got pretty good size shelving like I have here. Now, the cover is a nice semi-gloss, which for me is perfect because there's no dust jacket, and this one doesn't need one. I've mentioned before that, most of the Marvel omnibuses that I have to read them with the dust jacket, and I know some of you people are going, and my daughter included, but yeah, I read in bed primarily when I'm reading an omnibus, and pet dander, dust, whatever, just sticks to that flat Marvel Omnibus stuff, cover material. So I leave the dust jacket on for that purpose. Now, if you do it right, like they do in the gallery editions, you don't need a dust jacket at all. So that's a joy too. So good job there. So yeah, I had no problem reading this or scanning it. It's absolute book lover perfection right here is what this is. Barry Windsor-Smith, better known to people that's been in comics as long as I have as Barry Smith. I'll get into that in a minute. But anyway, Barry Windsor-Smith, with one exception, and that being the script for Uncanny X-Men 205, which is reprinted in here. That one Chris Claremont wrote. But other than that one exception, everything in this book was written, penciled, inked, and even colored by Barry Smith. So, yeah, this guy can do it all. And he does it all really, really good. Now, a little background on Barry Smith for people who don't know. He's a British artist. Well, originally. I don't know if he's living in the States now. He might be. But yeah, he's a British artist. And he's been around quite a while. And people that have been reading comic books, specifically Marvel comics, as long as I have, they think of Barry Smith as Barry Smith because he inserted the Windsor later. But his first published work that I've ever seen was for Conan the Barbarian, Marvel's Conan, in 1974, I think. I think that's probably right. And he penciled the first several issues of that, and everybody loved it. Right out of the gate, he was really good, although those first few issues, he sort of aped Jack Kirby a little bit, with the blocky kind of look to fists and other objects and things. And he didn't get that Baroque, really meticulous, detailed and ornate kind of, I'm not sure what the word would be, sort of Renaissance-looking art that he developed that a little bit later. Still on Conan, but not in those first few issues. He didn't have any of those styling cues were not apparent there. But it was still great. I mean, it was largely aping Jack Kirby a little, but still fantastic. And he just got better and better as he rolled along. Eventually, I don't want to, let's see if I get the lore right here. I say lore like it's fiction, but it's not. Sometimes reality is stranger than fiction. But he ended up, I think he had some disputes with Marvel management, and I don't even think he got along all that well with Roy Thomas, who was the primary writer, of course, on Conan, the only one for a long, long time. But I think it was more disagreements over various editorial things, and he just could not come to terms with Marvel, and he ended up leaving. Left the title, and Big John Buscema took over, and eventually he got really good too. But that was always a thing that Conan fans would argue about, who did it better, Barry Smith or John Buscema. Well, I like chocolate and vanilla, so I'm not going to get into that one, But anyway, he had some odd views that he had no bones about expressing. For an artist working in the comic book industry, he was kind of disdainful of a lot of the things that happened over the years in mainstream comic books and the way they handled various things. So I'm not going to get into all that stuff, but the information's out there. Do a little YouTube search, you'll find it if you want to see some of the stuff he said. But he burned a few bridges along the way, and it made it a little difficult for him to come back. And, he did come back, as we'll see here. But, he a lot of people got a bad taste in their mouth from dealing with him. So, another great, fantastic, masterful artist, creator, that has a few problems personality-wise. We've seen this before a lot, haven't we? John Byrne, and then more recently, even more serious problems with some behavioral things, and people have gotten themselves in a lot of trouble because, they didn't focus on their work enough. Let's put it that way. But anyway, aside from all that, he did eventually add Windsor, which I believe was his mother's maiden name, to his name, and that had something to do with the whole thing with his family and his father and them not getting along. I'm not sure. That's a whole thing you can look up too if you want to learn more about Barry Smith. So I knew him as Barry Smith for so long that it's hard for me to say Barry Windsor-Smith or Barry Windsor-Smith. But yeah, so that's what a lot of people just say BWS. So yeah, this collects basically all of Barry Smith's Wolverine work. It includes material from Marvel Comic Presents, which came out in that was 1991, where he did that. And it was some stuff he serialized, and that book was an anthology, so there was like 2 or 3 stories running in each issue, and one of them being Barry Smith's Weapon X stuff. And that ran through like issue 72 through 84 before that concluded. And then we've got material from Wolverine, the first solo series, not counting the limited series, but the ongoing, and that was issue 166. And then we also have the Barry Smith content from Uncanny X-Men, issue 205. Now, to put that in year sequence, it goes like this. Uncanny X-Men 205, that issue was in 1986. And Claremont wrote it, and Barry Smith penciled, did all the art for his section. And then the Marvel Comics Presents was all Barry Smith. He wrote it, he did it all. And that is telling, for the first time in any sort of detail, the origin of how Wolverine got the adamantium and the adamantium claws and the whole 9 yards. And it is told, and that's the bulk of the book, and that is told in some visceral, grisly detail. I mean, real horror show detail, okay? I mean, yeah, it's a little dark, for sure, but it is spectacular. And then the Wolverine, the solo series rather, this was a 2001 issue where it flashes back to some of these horrific events, and Barry Smith stepped in and did those pages also. So this puts it all together in sequence, in story sequence, time sequence. For the first time I'm aware of it, really. Now, all of this is collected within the first Wolverine omnibus. But of course that's smaller, and this thing is large and spectacular. So I've triple dipped this is what's happened, because I have the omnibus, I have this gallery edition, and I have a few of the singles of some of this material. I don't think I have all of it still. I may have sold some of it. I had a very large single collection before I went to primarily collected editions, and I sold off a lot of my singles to fund this massive omnibus and hardcover collection. I still kept some of my singles, but I liquidated quite a bit of it. Anyway, this book, really perfectly put together. I don't have a problem with it. I wouldn't change a thing. I mean, if they called Larry's library up and wanted to know what changes, I would be like, don't change anything. But it has a nice table of contents. It even has page numbers. It's all very clear and easy to use just throughout the book. Just a joy. Just a joy to read, and a joy to see this gorgeous artwork. Just lush colors. And I believe they even went back to the original masters on some of this stuff and cleaned it up some for this edition. Now, I have not compared the omnibus and the gallery directly to see if the omnibus used those new cleaned up masters or not. I'm not sure. If you know, comment down below in the comment section. It'd be interesting to find out. I have not looked at that, comparison-wise. But yeah, I mean, you can take a look at the scans I'm running throughout this video, and it's just gorgeous. I mean, the white pages are perfect. They're good and thick. It's perfection. My favorite format, my favorite character, one of my favorite characters, and some spectacular art. I could not ask for more. It's just pure joy for me. Yeah. So, yeah, this is not hard for you to guess what rating this gets. This gets a 10 for sure. Maybe I should do a Spinal Tap and make this an 11 because it's that good. So who's this for? It's for fans of fantastic artwork. Of course, it's for Wolverine fans, X-Men fans, Marvel fans. Don't even think about it. Get it. If you don't have it already, get it. Hopefully it's still available by the time this video runs and you can pick it up. I will put a IST link below. But yeah, you know what? This one is worth getting even if you have to pay more than cover. That's how good it is. So pick it up if you can. Get a hold of this. It is comic book art and story perfection. Now, next Monday, I'm going to do kind of a little hidden gem, something that I had actually forgotten about. I call it a forgotten treasure. And that's Wolverine and Nick Fury, the Scorpio Connection, oversized hardcover. Sure, it's completely out of print, but I recently discovered this in my collection again and started looking at it, and I wanted to feature it. So come back next Monday if you want to take a look at that. It's pretty cool. If you like my stuff here, give me a like. If you want to keep coming back for more, please subscribe, bell notify yourself. All that's below. You know how it works. And if you really love this stuff and you want to help me monetarily and keep this thing going, I do have a Patreon now down in the doobly-doo. So, see ya.